All right, we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. It is 11:04. This time, public comment. The board takes public comment on all items in the regular agenda. Public input on a regular agenda item will be taken at its appropriate discussion. Public input on an item on the agenda or consent agenda may be identified and requested for consideration by the board at this time. The board may request an item to be to be placed on a future agenda or for a consent agenda item to be moved to the regular agenda for public comment. Do we have any public comment at this time? I will mention that we do have a new board member who, she is not present at this time, but Naomi Vasquez will be joining us on this board, and we will wait to fully introduce her when she comes. So, with that, we'll move to the consent agenda, consideration of approving the April 26, 2018 minutes. Was everyone able to review that? Have any questions?
So long ago.
If no questions, do I hear a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Have a motion?
Second.
Have a second. All those in favor of approving the April 26 minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. We'll move to the regular agenda. First item would be presentation of monthly financial report and event calendar.
Good morning. If y'all have had a chance to look at the financial report, I think you'll find it looks pretty good in all venues. There's one thing that you might have noticed, or maybe not, is down there where it says Farmers Market, Pavilion, Paseo Grounds. If you'll notice that the expenditures are exceeding the revenue by about $3,300. And that is the only venue that has that negative balance. But the $12,614 expenses, $10,000 of that was done to replace and repair all of the doors at the Paseos. So that's not really a normal expense that we have. That was some money that we had carried over from last year, and it did not even impact our capital budget. We went in there and used that money to repair those. So if you take that away, actually, it was about $6,600 to the good at that location. But other than that, everything else is looking very good. Unless y'all have some questions or comments.
We're good.
Good? Okay.
Thank you, Don.
Uh-huh.
And then we have the calendar, which Lori's not here, so we'll let Sid kind of go through that.
So in June, we had about 6 or 7 events. The biggest events that we did have in June at the Coliseum, there was 13 event dates booked. The dinosaur exhibition as well, and then also the spa sale went on in June. And then coming up in July, which is about 53 bookings so far, there's the Gun and Blade show. There's also roller derby that'll be there as well, Black Shear School reunion, and also the July Pops concert and fireworks at the River Stage 2 as well. So steadily booking events for the future.
Quick question. Is it possible, I love these numbers, is it possible to do a comparison of this time last year versus this year?
Yes, we can do that on the next one.
Something on that slide.
It's not, that shouldn't be no problem at all.
Okay.
That'd be interesting.
Yeah, I think it would be. I think we're doing much better. It's just nice to visually see that.
What is the Tejano concert at the River Stage on the 15th
Of
July?
Coming up.
That's actually a pending date right now, actually, so still don't have all the full information. We haven't even negotiated it, but it's a last-minute thing. So a lot of the Tejano events, if they come to us, they'll be last minute because they're actually just trying to fill in a date for somewhere else that they're playing at the night before or the night after and stuff. So those events come to us last minute, so we're hoping that it does fall through, though.
Do we have any big names coming anytime soon?
Me? No, I'm just kidding. I mean, they're all great names and stuff. You know, Texas Country Acts always does well. It just depends on who you ask. Texas Country does well for us whenever whoever comes. You know, we have another one that comes in August. We do have Christian concert coming up with the Newsboys as well. That takes place in August too. So we have, I think it's a back-to-back. We do August 3rd, I want to say at the River Stage, and then August 4th, we're at the Coliseum with the Newsboys. So. And then there's actually some potential for some other events too as well, and I'll be mentioning some names coming up whenever we do our River Stage analysis. Any questions on the calendar? And the only reason I will mention, the only reason the indoor arena hasn't been receiving any type of bookings, we had an owl that had laid eggs in the center of the arena, so. There was proper protocol we had to follow and stuff before having events over there. So interesting, very interesting.
All right, with no questions, we'll move on to the next item, discussion of civic events, facility projects, and recommending any related matters.
Well, we've actually been doing very well with our projects, our facility projects part 2. I would say we're about 90% complete with the projects that we actually went to council for. We'll go ahead and start off with the emergency upgrades for the Foster Communications Coliseum. And first, I do want to mention we should take a trip out there to look at the changes that we have made. But let's get a few other items situated out there, and then we'll arrange that. But with the emergency upgrades, the company MC Electric, they actually did the emergency signage for us. All the emergency signage is actually complete out there. It looks great. Any direction that you look, you can actually see some signage, exit signs, brand new. So it definitely looks great out there. We also have the pump base that's also complete too as well. The only thing that we're actually waiting on right now at this time is just the fire protection pump. And about a week and a half ago, me and Steve actually met with a sales rep from AFP, and they had somebody else out there as well that took a look at the fire protection pump. So whenever we do receive a quote back, we'll be able to get started and move on that project and be finished with that too as well, so we get the tags done. The next project would be the chiller replacement. The chiller replacement actually should be shipping to us, shipping today. Mr. Kyle Henry has actually been facilitating on this project right here. So he said if he doesn't hear anything about the shipping today, he will be giving them a call and finding out where we're at with it. We were supposed to have it shipped on June 18th, but we'll see where we're at with this project. But we should be complete. Once it gets here, we should be complete in a matter of, I think, 2 weeks, something like that, 10 days, 2 weeks. Staging for the Coliseum has actually been shipped too as well, I believe, and is actually being processed still. So it's still in the process, but it should be shipped. We should be receiving it early August. We're hoping that we get it before the Newsboys concert too as well. So that's what we're keeping our fingers crossed for. But the process has been completed on our side. Everything's on Wenger Corporation side right now. LED lighting for the Coliseum has been complete. That project was complete by West Texas Power. That does include all the lights that are in the dome area. And when I say it does look it looks new in there, new lights. It shines a lot brighter in there. I mean, it looked great whenever the spa sale was over there. And I mean, just to be able to turn on the light and it comes in instantaneously on and stuff for us at the Coliseum. I mean, that's a big improvement, I guess, for us. But that project, the actual cost on that project right now is $27,552. We did receive $7,000 from SASRA, Stock Show Rodeo. They actually contributed $7,000, so that number does include the $7,000 from SASRA. But we're also pending an incentive payment of $6,900 for changing to LEDs as well too. So we're just waiting on that payment, but that hasn't been included in that total right there as well. The spotlights as well are in for the Foster Communications Coliseum too. Full Compass was the company that won that job. It was completed on June 5th as well, and we did save some money too in that area too, with a 1-year manufacturer warranty as well. So let's look at the estimated cost and the actual cost of each of the projects. So if you can see for the emergency upgrades, we're at it was 25,000. We're at 12,641. The chiller replacement, of course, we're a little bit under on that one too as well. Same with staging, LED lighting we saved on, spotlights, and we're on the electrical needs. And then on the electrical needs for the river stage, this is the only project that we're actually still working on. We did start the project, but the bulk of the project hasn't been completed yet. We're still waiting on some bids to be returned. We've already met with everybody for the bids. We're just waiting on see what those bids are when they do come back. But we do plan on having this completed before Riverfest in September. So the total estimated cost that for all the projects that we asked for initially was $364,000. The project contingency was $10,000 with the total amount requested at $374,000. The actual cost so far for us is $321,767 with an estimated savings right now of $31,240. So we're doing pretty well on these projects. A lot faster than where we were last year with the pace of it, but staff has been handling business on it pretty well and stuff. So, any question? Oh, hold on, not done yet. Interior restoration for now outside of those projects, we from our own budget we did take care of the interior restoration from for the convention center over here. If you look in the hallways, they look better than what we did have with all the water damage that was inside the walls. Corefield Construction took care of that job for us. It was completed on June 8th. And we'll be able to do a tour and be able to look at that as well all together. And then we're still waiting to complete the lower ring repair with Harrison Roofing. I mean, they're just backed up at the time right now. Steve has been calling them and trying to get information on when we'll be able to get that process started for us, which is needed over at the Coliseum. But from our side, it's already complete. We're just waiting on them. Any questions on our facility projects?
Questions? I'd like to commend you guys for the pace. I mean, from last year to this year, it does appear as if projects are getting done quickly. So I do commend you guys on that, and the savings as well. I think that does contribute to the savings. When you get a quote, you stick to that quote without having to go back and get an additional quote. Definitely. You're saving money on that as well. So, good job.
Thank you. It's really Steve and Don.
Good job, guys. So with no questions on that, we'll move to the discussion of facilitating more events at the Bill Ayler Senior Memorial River Stage. Scott, was that an item that?
That was an item I think Tim was.
Tim? I'm sorry.
Yeah, this was something that, so this was brought up at our last April event, and this was something I was actually going to be working on. So for all of our facilities, I would like to do some type of SWOT analysis just to show where we're at, our strengths, our weaknesses, the opportunities and the threats that we have. Plus, just how can we bring in more events to the river stage and get more business out there. We've been pretty steady, but I think I know we can fill in more concerts and more events at our river stage. It's a great facility. There's a few things that we would like to see still completed with it, but I mean, overall, all promoters really like this venue because of the scenery. But we'll go into the SWOT analysis. So the strengths for us, of course, like I just said, the scenery is probably the number one thing that a lot of people will mention because it's on the river, the view and stuff. Promoters like it. Customers like to be out there as well too, with a nice breeze and everything. So, that's a huge strength for us. The capacity as well, 5,000 to 6,500 people capacity. Just depends on how you set it up too for events. And then it's also an easy production setup for for the bands and stuff too as well, with rigging and all that stuff that's needed. And then, of course, we just have an amazing Civic event staff, too. You got to throw that in because we are a strength. Weakness. One of them, the first one is going to be lack of accessible power. That's one of them that we're actually working on with our facility projects too, is getting correct electrical needs taken care of out there for us. That was a huge weakness for us. Lack of restroom facilities and concession stands. Of course, we do bring in porta potties whenever we do have events, but at some point I would like for us to be able to get some that will be permanent. There's permanent restroom facilities there at the facility, as well as concession stands. I mean, in the times right now, we only have one actual concession stand out there, and if you ever been out there to an event and had to stand in one line for concessions, I mean, we do work at Angelo Host does work and make several stands, but it would be great to be able to get another concession stand out there that we can have. Parking too as well. Parking's a major issue whenever you do have a huge event out there because everybody's parking wherever they can find parking in that area. We could have parking in several areas that are out there, hopefully, but that does come with a process of us going to council and asking and all that as well. But to us, that seems as a weakness. And then bus accessibility too, for the river stage. Whenever they are trying to load in, load out, that actual dip into the river stage, getting buses down there, that is a difficult arrangement to have and stuff. Some people make it down there, some don't. So we just try to deal with it as best as we can for the river stage. Opportunities, of course, additional parking, additional entrances. We do have one entrance, and this isn't something that's major because I feel whenever you have scanning for ticket scanners, and I mean we've had long lines, and just with the ability to be able to scan people in whenever it's just a general admission concert, you're able to get them in there pretty quick. So, but it would be great to have an additional entrance due to customers having to walk over to that area since they had to park far away. And then allowing other caterers to bring in varieties. What I mean by that is more of if somebody wanted to bring in a barbecue, somebody to sell barbecue or something inside the river stage, or something different than just having nachos,
Like a
Skittles.
food truck?
Yes. So allowing some other type of varieties of food into the establishment, letting promoters be able to work with others. And then also there's opportunities for sponsorships and naming rights too as well. Of course, we do have our AB distribution for the pouring rights, but just, we can look at sponsorships too as well for the river stage. Any thoughts on that part before I go to the next?
To go back to the restroom facilities, do we have a rough idea of what we spend? And I know I'm sure it gets passed off to the customer ultimately, but do we have a rough idea how much we spend on porta potties annually?
I don't actually have one. You know the cost? Yeah, let's just get back with a number on that as well for you.
Just curious, if we're spending, thousands of dollars on porta potties, well, that money goes to nowhere, and it's not a great investment. If you're going to pass the cost on, build some permanent and pass that cost on. Yes. But at least you get the investment after it's all done.
That's right.
So that might be something we look into.
Do the current restrooms work at all?
Yes, ma'am. They work.
So it's just expanding?
It's just expanding, getting more restrooms in there, because when you have the concert goes on and on, I mean, you can miss an act just waiting on getting into the restroom. So
it'd be nice to be able to reconstruct that restroom that's out there, sort of like the one that's out at the ball fields where they had the restroom and the concession area and all that stuff in one building. But that one out there cost us a fortune. So I don't know if we'd be able to do it again.
Is room allowed to expand existing?
Just dying to get me up here. Rick Wise and a couple of the other city officials went out there it's been about a year now, and we looked at all the possibilities out there. So there are plenty of possibilities. The tennis courts are up there right now, and so we were looking at that as an entrance and maybe putting restrooms up there. To answer your question about the restrooms working, they do. There's three commodes in the men's, and there's 5 in the women's. And when you have a crowd out there, 6,000 people, you can see what happens. But we looked at, there's a place across underneath the viaduct there at on Chadburn. There's a place there that might be good for parking. It would all have to be, totally reworked and everything. But we looked at quite a few possibilities. That whole upper area where the concession stand and the ticket office is and the restrooms, that could all be one huge building all the way across there and used for something like that. So we looked at a lot of possibilities, but of course, money-wise, we haven't moved forward with it, but we would like to maybe get an architect in and take a look at it and just see what we can do. Because as we have more events down there, that we need more stuff, so.
Interesting thought, a big building, because you could have the, almost like a walk-in where you can crowd control and restrooms and concessions and the whole bit in one layout right across the top of the.
Yeah, we talked about that
the hill
because then
there.
you're right, and your gate would be in part of the building.
yeah.
Like if you go into San Antonio Zoo or something like that, how you go in through there, it's kind of the same thing. So we talked about a lot of that stuff.
Maximize your construction.
So going on to threats. So with the threats and stuff, so AEG Live Nation, of course, they're the biggest promotion companies, the 2 largest promotion companies in the U.S. They're acquiring a lot of the venues that are around the country. So they'll go Dallas, Houston, Austin, and they'll acquire the venues, so they'll be able to bring the acts through themselves and have the rights to everything from liquor sales, everything, merch sales, all the stuff combined together. So a lot of venues and artists are signing with labels like these, so they can be able to have those touring. They basically make a lot more money. That's just well put. Competing with privatized venues too as well. So outside of AEG Live and Live Nation, there's also the privatized venues that you have. So Midland Odessa has La Hacienda. They have the Wagner Noel too as well. They have a few other venues too. So those privatized venues also can be able to do a lot better deals in situations compared to what we can do being with the city, being a city facility. Artists are also charging more for one-off dates. Back about 3-4 years ago, more than that probably, artists would give, for a one-off. And do we understand what a one-off date is? Just when they fly in for the date, and then they fly right back out to go where they're at. A lot more artists rather be able to get on the road on the tour bus and be able to stop here and then go another 200 miles, play there, go another 200 miles, play there, and go from there. That's the best way to get a deal on an artist. So with artists charging more for the one-off dates, it makes it tough for a community of like San Angelo, which only has an airport that has American Airlines. So it makes the whole deal a lot more tougher to be able to pull it off whenever you're bringing somebody into San Angelo. So you're definitely trying to make it work whenever they're on some type of tour and they're coming through Texas. That's the best way to make that work. Promoters are paying less in fees at other venues. That goes back to competing with the privatized venues. They're able to give better deals on merch rates, or they may not have an actual facility fee, or they give them a flat fee on just the rental instead of a percentage and stuff. So they know what the cost they're already expecting walking into the deal. So whenever you deal with those types of threats with what we have as civic events, it does make it a little bit more tougher and stuff to be able to bring in artists. Although a lot of people do still like to choose the River Stage because of the facility. They really like the facility. So how can we bring in more River Stage events? We can actually offer incentives to promoters. Now, incentives could possibly be, hey, we have a marketing deal with billboards around in the city, and we're able to put digital. We'll advertise your event free of charge on the digital billboards or whatever. Something of that nature, or you just work a different type of deal with the promoters to be able to bring them in. Partnering with promoters for 2-day festivals, partnering with promoters for the events like this for the 2 days. Of course, that just helps out with the local economy as well to be able to get somebody to stay overnight, overnight stays, and that's pretty key. We're actually working with an event that's coming up in March of next year, and working to make that a 2-day festival instead, and adding 2 concerts to it, to be able to bring people from out of San Angelo to come into the city and enjoy it. So that is something that I am working on right now, trying to make happen for us. And then sponsor community concerts. It would be great for us to have, in the summertime, have a community concert fall on the off day of a Tuesday or something like that at the River Stage, where it could be a free concert and it's sponsored by whoever. And that you can come out and it's only an hour and a half, 2 hours, but you just come out, enjoy it. Maybe even you bring you bring food out there or something like that, but some type of family event that they can come out to and they can enjoy. I do see that a lot on other city pages, that they do have community events like these at their facilities that are free of charge, and they partner with some restaurant or something like that on it so both sides can win off of it. So that is something that I would love to look into, but of course, all of that does still cost money, because artists don't want to just hear free. Any questions involving, I guess, the River Stage? Is open on anything. We do have, I will go back to this. I know I did speak about AEG Live, and we did talk about AEG Live and Live Nation. AEG Live actually has contacted us in the past 2 weeks and stuff. So they were trying to bring an artist to us. But the deal was just, they wanted basically a $5 rebate on every artist that was coming in. And that was how they wanted their concessions. Every ticket that was purchased, they wanted $5 back if they're going to spend it at the concessions. And I mean, that just goes to show you that they get those types of deals with their own. Of course, they can do whatever they want with their own venues and stuff. So they're just trying to work it as best as they can, and it's tough. The artists that they were bringing already came here twice, and I mean, it's not like the third time he's going to do any better than where he was, and we didn't have to do that before for that artist. So, it's something to look into possibly, and it's not $5, but it is something to look into possibly if AEG wanted to bring artists that have not been to the city, and we know it can be a win for us all. But when it comes to somebody that has been to the facility, and it doesn't make sense for us to go that route. But it is good to see that AEG Live from Dallas has reached out to us to work with us.
Have any questions on any of that?
And there are plenty of concerts that are coming up at the River Stage. Probably in August, September, November has 2 events as well that we're negotiating too. So, that's one thing that I have seen different from last year, is that the River Stage bookings for concerts have gone further and further into the year. It usually just stops, okay, September or October, I'm not going to do any more events because we don't know the weather. But they do actually have a concert that's booked for the River Stage in November.
Is there anything we can do to get the ball rolling on the restrooms? I mean, where are we? I mean, I know we've talked about it and they've gone out and looked at it and have some ideas. So what's the next step?
It would definitely be a process for us to be able to get somebody to actually get an architect out there to actually give us a better idea of what we're looking at, and just work with some numbers and see where we stand with the numbers, and make sure that it fits with where we're at, because we're still at trying to build the River Stage revenue up. So I wouldn't want to go too deep in the hole with it, but I think we are on a good path so far and stuff. It wouldn't hurt for us to already know what we're looking at for the future and stuff.
So have you already contacted some architects?
Oh, no ma'am, but we'll definitely make that happen.
I agree. I think it's a great idea, and I think you have to look at all variables, again, with how much you spend on portable restrooms to be brought in, and expanding concessions. Would that generate, I know it's tough to tell, but would that generate more revenue? All things to take into consideration. But I like the thought, I like the idea. So do we Add that as an additional item all on its own, or?
We can definitely start the process and look into some things.
Just a kind of a different question. You're talking about parking and bus accessibility. Currently, when people come in to that venue, I'm assuming for setup, they'll drive back behind the river stage.
Yes, sir.
They'll go kind of to the grassy area,
Yes, sir.
turn around, and
Turn
come back
around.
out the same way.
Not with,
I may have a follow-up question, so.
We mainly do that with some of the smaller stuff, but a bus cannot get around behind there. And with the way that the driveway is set up now, it comes up and then it goes down, and their buses are so low that we've had a couple of them get hung up there. So a lot of them won't even try to get down there anymore. And usually they have a trailer pulling behind it also with all their equipment. And so some of them can get in there, some of them can back it in there, but a lot of them can't. But most of those vehicles don't go around behind. It's just mainly our city trucks we go around behind and some of the other stuff. But yeah, the Bud Light, when they bring their stuff in, the guy can get around there with the porta potties and that kind of stuff too. So
I'm assuming there's no area on that other side to kind of come back up to make a total.
there's really not now, but that was what I was saying maybe earlier, is there's an open space on the other side of Chadburn and up to Chadburn that's there. But I wouldn't know what the legalities are about pulling underneath the actual street and that kind of stuff. We'd have to look into all that.
Okay. Just curious about that. I mean, that would be beneficial to our load ins and load outs and ADA folks that can drive all the way down there and easily turn around and come out. And okay. Any other thoughts, questions? With that, we'll move on to consideration of future agenda items. So I think that, Karen, I think that did bring up the restrooms. Maybe we put that as an agenda item for you guys to bring some ideas, thoughts, possible renderings. Maybe get Rick involved, I guess, if he was involved in the past discussions, if necessary. Anything else that you'd like on that item?
I just think it's an important item, and I'd really like to see how far we can go.
I had another item. You know, we had discussed the LED lighting in the Coliseum, and I mean, it's amazing how much that transitions that facility into it just looks more updated. Obviously, you might have to paint some walls to clean it up since it now shows, but I think, you know, we may want to look, maybe you guys can bring us some ideas of other facilities that we can do that to as well. You know, I don't know how much lighting there is at the river stage, but, you know, we discussed parking lots to the Paseo to, you know, any venues that we can utilize, it saves money. I mean, I'm a big fan of LED lighting. At the end of the day, it does save money because it's less energy usage. So,
It's funny you'd say that because we have several of our parking lot lights out right now. And so tomorrow morning, we're going to get the bucket truck out here and we're going to replace the light bulbs. But the ones that are ballast, because a ballast takes a lot to replace and we can't do that ourselves. So Deb from MC Electric has to do that for us. So we talked this morning about, okay, she's going to look into what it is for an LED. So as we lose ballast, we're going to try to go to LEDs at this point for this parking lot. So we're trying to do that. And we've also, Sid asked me about 2 months ago to start looking into all of the lighting of the Paseo. All those lights that hang down with pigeons set on all the time and everything. That's a problem. So what we're going to do, and I've already got West Texas Power looking at that, and so they're working up a bid right now so they could come in and just light that whole thing with LEDs, put the lights up next to the top, you know, where the pigeons can't sit on it and everything. So that doesn't mean the pigeons won't still get in there somewhere, but so we are actually looking at all that. The LED lighting at the Coliseum, we've already started ourselves to replace the lights along the hallways, and that wasn't part of this project, but we're doing that ourselves. So, and we're taking down the stuff, we're putting LEDs in, and all it is just retrofitting them and bypassing the ballast and doing that. So you're right about the LEDs, they're cooler, they save money, and they last longer, and they're brighter actually. So
Maybe bring us you kind of talked a lot
What
about
I just
it.
said?
Yeah, basically kind of bring us something which what we have done, maybe what you're looking
Okay.
into doing forward. Yeah, that's all does anyone else have anything they'd like to add as an agenda item? We had discussed, going back to the minutes, sorry, I'm not trying to hog this thing. You guys are more than welcome to talk. So we discussed in the last minutes from April, I believe,
Yes.
the discussion of the audit for hot money, the funds that we received. So we requested an agenda item to be placed on here to discuss how the audit is done, who does the audit, how often, just kind of all the ins and outs on what we do with our local hotels. And I know there was a discussion with possibly putting together a lunch and learn
Yes.
with our new assistant financial
Yes.
finance director. Sid, I believe you want to talk to that and maybe.
Yeah, so planning to put together a lunch and learn for that as well, and also invite CVB, their board too, because we normally have a civic events meeting. Supposed to have a civic events and our civic CVB board as well. Excuse me, together. But I think it would be best if we actually did a lunch and learn about hot tax, and that way we can get all the questions that we want to ask out for about Fund 605, Fund 410, and we can invite everybody to be able to be a part of that discussion. It would be great for us because I think we all need a fresh start, and plus whenever we also will have a new board member too as well, so that would be great for her to be able to learn that too. From the get-go, everybody can't be Scott, and know it already. But I mean, we'll definitely have that, coming up in the next few months. Possibly, I'm looking at probably in August. Let's get out of vacations and all that time right now, but probably in late August we'll put that together and we'll all sit down and discuss it.
Sounds good.
I do have, I think we should look into maybe getting a plaque or something to present to past members who have really served and really done this board a nice job.
I think it's a great idea. I don't know if we can discuss this openly now, but what's been done in the past. I haven't been here long enough, obviously, to know all the ins and outs. But I do agree with Karen. People volunteer a lot of their time, and it's not even sitting here for an hour. It's also outside and fielding questions and things. So I agree with that. Maybe we look into what we can do on that. I don't know if that needs to be an agenda item, but
Yeah.
That's a great idea, Karen. And if we have a meeting with the CVB, we'll rope Michaela back into it anyway.
Definitely.
Speaking of CVB, in the past we'd had like a quarterly or half a year or something joint meeting.
Yeah, so that's the one that I was just discussing. So the way that normally was working was CVB was the ones that would actually put that meeting together. So I did reach out to CVB about it, and the transition of it didn't work out pretty well. I'm guessing from their aspect of who formerly used to set up that meeting into going into civic events. It wasn't civic events side setting it up. It was actually a CVB side setting up the whole meeting. And I tried to take a stand and, hey, we need to set up the meeting, but right now we don't have anything. So I'm just trying to do something different, whether it's like a lunch and learn where we have the CVB as well with us to be able to discuss these things about hot tax or whatever.
This may be an ignorant question, but back to Karen's thoughts. Do we need to have an agenda item to discuss possibly what the parameters would be? I mean, we don't want to just, if someone's here for a year, is that enough time to warrant something? I mean, does that need to be a bigger discussion, or what do you guys think?
On the other boards that I've been on, there's usually when when a person goes off that board, their last meeting, they get a presentation from, in this case, it would be Sid and Carl and the other guys. And generally, it's one of of those city pen and pencil sets engraved with your names and fancified. That they
Anything.
give to, retiring board members. And I think, I don't see why that would be impossible to continue, since all the other boards do
Definitely.
that. There's no reason we can't.
Definitely.
Maybe bring some ideas.
We have
Will
done
do.
plaques for the outgoing presidents, I know.
There's one where you can get when I left the Parks Board, Carl gave me the pen, and I got he signed a certificate of appreciation and had the city sign it and the whole bit. So
Be worth money
there's
one
all
day.
kind of, different ways you can do that. Yeah.
I'll sign it. I think that's good, Karen. I definitely think we need to look into that. Anything else? With that, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Good to go.